and we are here. And I can't believe it, but thank you very, very much, Shayna. Welcome back.
Hey.
And Margot's going to be sitting on the team.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, we had you in the hot seat, but
I'm
now,
on the other side of the coin now.
So you can dig in and join, and want to introduce Rochelle Squires MLA for Riel, Minister of Sustainable Development, and also Minister for the Status of Women and Francophone Affairs. And that is the only official thing I'm going to say about her, because I promised we would not talk politics unless it's the Trump word. No. No, we're all good. So anyways, and we also want to invite, we have some guests here too as well. So I'm first of all going to say, everybody, welcome to the Hue Crew, everyone, and cheers.
Cheers.
Work-life balance. Cheers to
Cheers.
all things women.
Yes.
Cheers. All right. Okay, so Rochelle, since you are a guest, we start with you. Yes, I know.
Thank you.
It's a busy year, busy summer, election time coming up. So I know, what is it like, at this point now, when it's like things are going to start to gear up, and
Well, first of all, let me say congratulations to you. 18 episodes, way to go. And it's a real honor to be here with some of these amazing women and to be on this panel. So thank you so much for including me here today. So what is it like in an election season? It's busy, it's active, but there's two things that I love most in life, and that's being outdoors and being with people. And so the campaign trail is a place where I really find myself at home. I love going out and talking to people and just getting to know what their interests are, and ultimately building relationships. Right. I think that the most important attribute a person can bring to politics is a relationship with their community. So really, I'm just out there talking to people and letting them know that if they want to talk about issues, pick up the phone or chat with me anytime they want, or if they just want to get to know me a little bit better, I'm always available for a conversation.
See, and now, doesn't that just cut the ice? But would you, I don't know, we know her now, or I know you now, and I would do that, but would you do that for somebody that's running and you're riding? And
yeah, pick up the phone and try and have a conversation with them. If they're on my street or at an event that I'm at, I would certainly feel comfortable talking to them.
Yeah.
I think probably I assume that most of the time they get, unfortunately, negative comments, or people are more inclined to pick up the phone when there's something that they're frustrated about, as opposed to just to find more information about the campaign or what's happening at that time.
So, I don't know.
I think, no. I wouldn't, right? Let's be honest. I don't think it would just be that natural thought, but I think that, with even just a brief introduction today, it's like your family, it's good. And I think we more have to approach things like that. Like, the MLAs are here for us, speaking on our behalf. So make that effort. It shouldn't be so one-sided, right? That you guys are out there promoting everything, but you guys, this is for our community. This is to better Winnipeg. Do your part too.
Absolutely. Even throughout the year when I'm not in an election cycle, ever since I got elected, I've been committed to building relationships in my community and being accessible. So I always have these monthly coffee and conversations. It's a time of the month where I put the coffee on, I open up my constituency office, I invite the community. Sometimes I have 10 or 15 people show up, sometimes I have 30 people show up, sometimes I have 2 people show up. But the important thing is that people know that every month they can come and just sit around and have a conversation. And I've had a lot of people come through the doors and say, I've never done this before. This feels a little weird. I've never contacted my MLA to talk about an issue that I'm having, whether it be child care, or just something that I'm passionate about, or just really interested in politics. I've had newcomers to our community who have just recently taken the citizenship oath, who are very interested in democracy and how it works in Canada. So they come and they have a conversation, and they're really excited that they get to be part of it.
I love that.
Rochelle, where did you get that idea from in the first place? I don't believe that happens in my neighborhood. Maybe it does, and I just have missed it, but did it stem from something specific?
So certainly always borrowing best practices from others. And so I've met other politicians who have had these coffee and conversations conversations, and I thought, when I get elected, I will do a coffee and conversation every month, and so that's what I've been doing.
I like the when I get elected. She knew.
Yes.
I know. Yeah. No, she's good. And actually, I got invited to one of the breakfast meetings, and it really was interesting to meet, community business people, and especially like we live in the area that I grew up in, so I now know who owns a florist in the little mall that we go to, and and it really, I think, ties in what community is all about. So in this day and age, hashtag girl power, hashtag Hue Crew, politics now, in the rain, women in politics. Have we progressed? I don't think we're at equal levels.
No, we are not. Unfortunately, we are marching at a glacial pace. And that's the reality, not just here in Manitoba, but across Canada, and I would even dare say in North America, although I don't have the statistics for south of the border. Here in Canada, we are about 20%. In Manitoba, there are 57 seats, 14 are occupied by women. And then when you think about it, it gets even smaller as we look at how many women in the entire history of this province. We've been in Confederation for 149, almost 150 years. Next year is our sesquicentennial.
Yeah.
In 150 years, we have had, I'm the 60th woman to serve as a MLA in the legislature, compared to over 800 men.
Wow.
So it's a really unequitable, unbalanced scale.
Unbalanced, yeah.
It gets even smaller when you look at how many women have been around the cabinet table. Right now, our cabinet, I'm one of 5 women. In the history of Manitoba, there have only been 33 women sitting at that table, contributing to the formation of government laws and policies and regulations. And so it's really been an unbalanced world. And that is in keeping with all provinces across the country, or our country, and even at the federal level in national politics. There's certainly not an overwhelming amount of women. We are a minority.
And is that like around the world though, too? Or
so
in
it's
other
interesting.
countries?
I think in Europe they've had many more women leaders, and if you just look in the UK, we've had 2 long-term serving women prime ministers.
Right.
In Canada, we had Kim Campbell for barely a season, and she's been our only woman prime minister.
Wow. So,
What do
anyways,
we
well,
do?
you've got a big banner to bear, and go for it. And so, when you're actually in day to day, what is a work ethic, or what is a working atmosphere like with the other guys?
Right. So I have to say, I'm really fortunate to be serving in government in this time, in this era, in 2019. It is an era where everyone is very aware of the need to achieve gender equality. So I have a premier, I have colleagues, I have a legislature that supports me and is making room for me. And we're seeing that in all different areas of society, where in corporations and in other areas where we're making more room for women at the top. We're not saying that the men, we need to push you out. We love our men in leadership, but we're just saying make room for us. And that is happening in areas throughout the province, throughout our country, and in our legislature. So I'm really very pleased to be in an environment today where I don't have to constantly be fighting for my position. I'm there. No one's questioning it.
Oh, good.
I can say too, through Status of Women and the federal government as well, there is more money kind of also being focused on this topic as well. So with ICTAM, the Technology Association, they received a nice grant not too long ago where we have a full-time staff person focused on specifically women in tech and helping women reach those positions at the top and helping that percentage mark grow a little bit higher when it comes to women in Manitoba in tech roles. So it's happening, it's moving, slowly granted, but we've got the focus on it at least.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? I guess it's kind of a nice segue into entrepreneurship, women in business. I mean, Shayna is a businesswoman. Yeah. You're a host of a podcast, Start, but also, seeing all of your transformations too, and we talked about it too, Margot. she's my idol, and how many different ways, you know, and maybe transform is a little the wrong word, but she's had many jobs. And when you come from my era, it's like someone has many jobs, well, ooh, but she explained it that no, each job has progressed her to become a better person, to become a better businesswoman. And I think, especially for females, that seems to be the way. I don't know.
I am going to speak to that
You're gonna
wholeheartedly. I just think that, you know what, being a mother, being a wife, being a girlfriend, being all of those things, those traditional roles are so admirable. But I think that, you know, as a first-generation Canadian, my parents came over from Trinidad like in the 70s. And my mom gave up everything to help my dad build his business, and he didn't reciprocate that. That's a whole different topic. But what I will say is that the one regret I have for my mother is that she didn't become who she was supposed to. And so for me, it's that opportunity to say your dreams can live out through at least one of your children. And taking those risks, like business is not easy. It is not easy to be the face of your movement, of what you're doing. You have to live and die by the sword that you speak by, and every action that you take. I just think that we're in a day and age where you can literally be whatever you want to be. And it's more about embodying that like CEO mindset that says, regardless of what I do, the decisions I make will be successful. And like, go make it happen. There are no excuses. I don't have patience or time for that. Make it happen. If you can dream it, you can literally do it. Go invest in it, make it happen, sit with the right people, bring something to the table. You're good to go.
Yeah, it is having that confidence, though, to be able to put yourself in that position of leadership.
Yes.
And sometimes you're fortunate enough to have the right people around you that support you with that. But like you used a good word earlier when you said, you know, the non-traditional role. And you explained my path a little bit. And to change careers or jobs relatively frequently is non-traditional. Like I had many family members that were in more traditional roles that kind of said to me, like, are you sure? Like, what do you do? Are you okay in your career? I'm like, am I okay? Like, I'm doing great, you know?
Right.
And so, but it's because they weren't used to what that path looked like, right? Because if you're in one career your whole life and that was maybe more traditional path for people to take, what I've done seems non-traditional.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think it's okay, right? Like I've done so many things over my working life and my entrepreneurial life, but then there comes a point in time where you sit back and you kind of look at like, wow, everything I've done has contributed to this moment and this season, and I wouldn't be as good as I am right now if I didn't have all of those experiences to pull on. And I think, you know, I was talking with Marley, you know, just in the back there, and we were talking about being a mother and, you know, all of those things, building your life around your kids or building your career around your life. Like those are the only two ways to do it. And being an entrepreneur has afforded me the opportunities to travel back and forth between here and the States. You know, when my sister needed support, I was one call away, one plane ride away. I can work from wherever I am. It's great. So I think in this day and age, we have to take advantage of that. And also opportunities. My big thing, Tracy knows this, is nobody's making a spot for you at the table. You have to see it, claim it before you're there, and then do everything possible to be there. And then make some noise, unapologetically.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to throw it out to the audience. Well, Marley, if you've got the mic there. Heather's sitting here, and Heather, and I remember her, I mean, Body Works and the whole, you know, physical fitness movement and you know, opening up a gym and how many years, and what was it like for you back then? You know, obviously it was scary, or was it not like you had a clear path?
Tracy, I had no idea what I was doing. I came from a teaching background. I was a phys ed teacher and was introduced to a woman who introduced the Jane Fonda aerobics to Winnipeg, and we sort of developed a friendship, and before I knew it, I gave up my teaching job and opened a studio with her. This was Patty Caldwell back in the early 80s. And, you know, for me, I just got lucky. I got in at the beginning and with no business acumen whatsoever.
For wow.
got involved in a very successful business. And we had a good run. We ran for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and you
But
started
the
it.
industry is very, very, very interesting, very competitive, very challenging now. So
I feel like not a lot of people would take that leap though from a safe teaching role, you know, relatively safe
Yeah.
speaking, to jump right into a business that, as you yourself put it, you have no business acumen, it's a new industry for you. What advice would you have to someone who is like has an opportunity that looks interesting in front of them, but that I imagine had to be quite fearful?
it was. And you know, I couldn't do it alone. Back in that day, I couldn't get financing myself.
Right?
Wow.
I had to
Heard that before.
secure money, you know, with the assistance of my husband, regrettably. But that's just the way it was. So it's different now, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's, I guess, you know, having a game plan. But, I mean, I think it's still, though, and I hate to say it, as much as, like, we're all successful, there's still
Yeah.
barriers. There's still hoops to jump and fences to climb. And it really hasn't changed the landscape for us. So, do we fix it? Do we just say, like, you know, like you were just saying, like, now they've accepted, they're not pushing the men out, you know, you just want to say that we want to be let in. How do you play that fair game now instead of, well, I heard the phrase, oh, I gave in, I'm working for the man. Is that right? Is that the right term? I don't know. I don't know the solution. Sometimes it's like, you know, if you play nice, you kind of think that you might get ahead, but
Well, we certainly do need to get to the point where we reach that tipping point, and we're not there yet. We still have quite a ways to go, and I mean that's just tragic when we hear about women entrepreneurs 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even today can't get a loan without the assistance from a male partner or a husband, and that's a real unfortunate legacy that we've inherited and that we're living in today. However, we know that there are institutions available for helping women entrepreneurs. The Women's Enterprise Center is doing some really good work helping women achieve their dreams, helping them get access to capital, and providing some of those assistance. And so I continuously believe we need to push forward, and women will continuously make room for others. And what you said was beautiful about your mom and your grandma. Their unfulfilled destiny is part of what you're living out. And then we can think about, what are we leaving for the next generation? What are we leaving for our
Absolutely.
daughters?
Yeah.
There'll be unfinished dreams in all of us when we're done our careers,
Yes.
because we couldn't get access to capital, or we couldn't make those connections, or we just fought and didn't break through that glass ceiling. And
Yeah.
yet the generation coming up behind us, they will achieve.
And the thing
our
is
dreams.
that they're watching, right?
are.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of my nieces is 4 years old, and she's a budding stylist, just like her auntie. But she will be in the fitting room with you, like, that doesn't look good. And I'm like, you're right. Like, well done. Or, you know, she sees me on my phone with my headphones, and she's like, Auntie's working, and I have work to do. And she'll pull out her crayons and her paper, and she starts having a meeting. And it's great because they really are watching what we're doing. So where my sister is a nurse, and she went the traditional educational route, and I love that about her, you know, she also sees that, whoa, there's another path that I can take where, yeah, it is difficult and it is inconsistent, but it's mine. And I get to be proud of that. So I think I love what you're saying about the fact that we do have to be very mindful for what we're leaving. I've talked about this on the show before. My mentor was 10 years older than me, so 40 years old, and he just didn't wake up one morning. He passed away in his sleep from a heart attack, and he was in the launch pad of his career, negotiations to consult for the Raptors and stuff like this, like crazy. And leaving behind a 5-year-old son, leaving behind all of the plans that we had for 2019, and you just don't get to do them. So also making sure that everything that's in here and in here you put on paper and you have a succession plan for, because you don't know when your last day is. And somebody else can take the bones of what you've done and they can carry that out. So I think we have to look at it not just as our own personal movement, but like truly that legacy piece that you're leaving to impact the world and better the world too.
Yeah.
Well, and people still will be, other women will still be fighting after we're fighting though.
Yeah.
So you're right, like there does need to be that succession plan in place. When we look at women in tech, for example, if you look at where the trajectory has been and is going, if you follow the data, we won't achieve relative parity for at least 80 years. So that means that like no matter how hard we work right now, if it's on the same path that it's going on now, your kids and your grandkids will still, your granddaughter will not have parity in tech still in her lifetime. Like maybe toward the end of it, but not in the bulk of her career.
Wow.
So there is certainly still something we need to do.
Yeah.
We're on the right path talking about it.
Well, and I don't know, and I might call upon Karen, who is the ultimate family and mother, and you know what? Does it boil right down to it that we are innate? We have a caring gene, whatever, because we're female. And I hate to say it because no, we all need to be successful, but maybe this is our destiny. I don't know. I mean, let's try. Let's strive to be equals, but maybe we're never meant to be. And I just want to know too, maybe with Karen, I mean, you got a beautiful family, and we all have families or blended families, and the whole family unit has really changed over the years, don't you think too? And how do you do work-life balance, I guess, would be the question. And I think this is sort of what we're talking about.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I really admire all of you women. And, if I have to admit, I think I have unfulfilled dreams. But having said that, I've had a wonderful life. I come from a therapeutic background. I worked in a hospital up until I had my son. And shortly after my son was born, my husband was involved in the family business, in a fairly large family business. And his father was killed in a car accident, and he took over the business, which entailed tons of travel. And I found myself pregnant again with my second, and so I decided at that point that I was going to stay at home because I couldn't see the balance working at that time. So my career was a mother, and I got very involved in my kids' lives. I head up the gymnastics programs and very involved in the parent guilds at school and things like that. And I don't regret any of that, but I'm at this point in my life now where I'm thinking, what next? My kids are involved in our family business today. They're 30 and 28, and they're doing really, really well. They're definitely leaders in their field. So I think that I had something to do with that. But I am left with a little bit of unfulfilled dreams, and I got some ideas. But
okay, well, you can always
Never
join in the Hue Crew, and this is exactly what we want to hear. I mean, we can talk and talk and talk, but now we can kind of see there's so many other opportunities out there, and even Rochelle being in politics, I probably would guess that wouldn't be your dream when you were 5 years old, or was it?
Oh, no. I think Marco and I are very similar in that I've had many careers and many twists and turns along the way here, but family has always been very important to me as well, and I did spend some years at home raising my children, and really believe that balance is really, it's not a day-to-day thing, it's a season thing. And right now I'm in a season of work. I have had seasons where I've been more invested at home and with my children in various stages of their growth, and now I'm in a season of work in my career. But certainly it hasn't been a linear path towards politics. It's a lot of detours, and it still is. I still have a lot of interests outside of my work life. I still have my home life that's really important to me, and trying to find a little bit of balance is what keeps me sane.
And so you go for long walks in the bush with bears or something like that. Yes, it's like you like to do that too.
I do, yeah.
So there's
We are
synergy
similar.
there. I know. Yeah. So right. Okay. So
one thing when you say that makes me think of, and maybe with our audience members, like it's a little bit the opposite, but I'm thinking, for me, wondering if I want to have kids and whether they might hinder my career path. You've been quite successful, as have many people on this panel. But do you feel like there were points where it held you back in your career at all by deciding to have a family?
Well, I was a teenage mom. I had my first child when I was uneducated, not even graduated from high school. So my whole life has been done in reverse. So I had my first son as a teenage mother and had to really figure out, what am I going to do from this point forward to give the best life I can possibly give for my son. He's 30 now. He's an engineer. He's my hiking partner. And things worked out very well, but it was challenging. I put my life in a different path than what many people would consider more of a traditional path to building a career. So I had my children, then I got my education, and once I went back to school, because I knew for me the key would be education, to get myself out of the jam that I was in and to build a better life for my children. So that was always my motivator. And I started going to school, and I haven't stopped. I'm still in school, and I've just I've gone throughout many different paths, and I landed in journalism and with my communications degree and building it from there. And one of the things that has stuck with me ever since I took my first journalism class was my instructor said to me, if you can string a sentence together, you'll never be out of work. And it has that has been my destiny. I have always been able to find exciting, intriguing work, and just always looking for something positive to do with my career.
Wow. So, I don't know. I think you're good. I think you're good. Yes. No, Marco.
I'm not worried.
No.
I think it's, though, I'm a bonus mom, right?
You're a bonus mom.
My boyfriend has a 12-year-old who I met when he was 7, and have been super privileged to help raise and impart into his life. And my partner and I talk about having kids, and I'm like, I need like 3 years, so I think I'm very much like you. There's been seasons where I'm like, I absolutely don't want to have kids, and then where I'm like, I absolutely need to know what a little mini Shayna would be like.
Careful what you wish for. What you wish for.
And I guess being able to also help my sister raise her kids and be like, Auntie Mommy is what we, would refer to me as, is one of the other great things where you get to see that it's a shift. Yeah. When I'm back in Winnipeg, I don't have all the freedom that I have when I'm dealing with a 12-year-old. Their ages make so much difference as well. So I think also kind of timing your seasons for,
So true.
whatever the priority is, we're always going to end up making a sacrifice, and this is going to go back to one of the points that you made about equality. We're women. We're never going to be equal. We're always better in the sense that we are going to be powerhouses in the home as well as we can have careers. And I think that if we look for the balance in the midst of that and not so much trying to compete with men, because they can't do what we do.
No, they can't have babies, right? And I think until men can have babies, then it'll all be
We're
good.
winning.
But you know what? I just want to say, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Margot. And a very special thank you to Liz and her girls from Swish. We are at Swish Co-Create, this beautiful space.
So beautiful.
Yes.
And our audience.
And our audience.
Yes.
Marley's my mini-me. Kenzie. It was so great and joining in the conversation. So we can raise our glasses now. I think we're done.
Cheers.
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 Cheers.